They say your life flashes before your eyes in a moment of crisis. That's a lie. What actually flashes before you are the micro decisions. The red light you barely caught, the shoe you stopped to tie, the 3 seconds you spent choosing between a latte and a black coffee. Those seconds are the atoms of fate. My 3 seconds happened on a Tuesday night in November, on a stretch of Highway 26 that smelled of wet asphalt, old pine needles, and the oncoming rot of winter. I'm a salesman. My world is measured in miles per gallon and the artificial scent of new car hanging from my rearview mirror. I spend half my life in a silver sedan that has become a second skin. I was driving back from a disastrous meeting in Portland, a deal that fell through because of a typo in a contract. I was exhausted, my eyes burning from the rhythmic sweep of the wipers and the endless red and white streaks of the rainy interstate. I was exactly 3 miles from the nearest gas station when I saw her. It was 11:14 p.m. If I had pushed the gas just a little harder 5 miles back, I would have passed her before she even stepped out of her car. If I had stayed to argue with my boss for 3 seconds longer, she wouldn't have been there yet. But the universe has a cruel sense of clockwork. She was standing by a rusted-out station wagon on the shoulder. She wasn't waving or screaming. She was just standing there, her shoulders slumped, staring at the steam billowing from under her hood, with a look of such profound, quiet defeat that it bypassed my caution and went straight to my gut. I tapped the brakes. "Keep driving," my brain whispered. "It's late. It's raining. You don't know her." But I was raised by a man who believed that a person's character is defined by what they do when it's inconvenient. I pulled over, the gravel crunching under my tires like breaking bone. I rolled down the passenger window. The cold, wet air invaded the cabin, smelling of ozone. "Everything okay?" I called out. She walked toward the car. Up close, she looked older, perhaps in her late 50s. She wore a heavy, sensible wool coat that was already dark with rain. Her face was the kind you'd see 1,000 times in a supermarket and never remember. Gentle eyes, a slight tremor in her chin, a personification of vulnerability. "I am so incredibly sorry to bother you," she said, her voice shaking with a chill. "My radiator just went. My phone is completely dead, and my husband is at the hospital in Oak Haven. He went into emergency surgery an hour ago. I was trying to get to him." The story was perfect. It hit every emotional trigger I had. The hospital, the surgery, the dead phone. It turned me from a random driver into a hero in my own narrative. "Oak Haven is on my way," I said, leaning over to unlock the door. "Hop in. I can drop you right at the emergency entrance. It's no trouble at all." She sat down, bringing the smell of damp wool into my warm car. As she buckled her seatbelt, I noticed her hands. They were steady, not a single tremor despite the cold. And she wasn't carrying a purse, no bag, no wallet, just her coat. "Thank you, David," she said. The name hit me like a physical blow. I froze, my hand hovering over the gear shift. I hadn't introduced myself. "How do you know my name?" I asked, my voice suddenly tight. She didn't miss a beat. She pointed a pale finger at the dashboard where my company parking permit was tucked against the glass. "David Miller, Regional Sales." "Oh, right," I laughed, a sharp, nervous sound. "I forgot that was even there. For a second, I thought you were a mind reader." "Just observant," she said, her voice dropping a few degrees in pitch. "You have to be when you're waiting for someone." We pulled back onto the highway. The silence in the car was heavy, filled only by the thwack-thwack of the wipers. I tried to focus on the road, but I was acutely aware of her. She wasn't looking out the window at the passing trees. She was looking at the interior of my car. Her eyes roamed over the upholstery, the radio, the door locks, and finally, my face. "So, what kind of surgery is your husband having?" I asked, desperate to fill the silence. "The final kind," she replied. I frowned, glancing at her. I'm sorry? That sounds serious. It's a procedure where the person who goes in isn't the same as the person who comes out, if they come out at all. It's about balance, David, taking something away to pay for something else. I felt a cold prickle of unease. Her tone had changed. The frantic, stranded woman was gone. In her place sat someone cold, clinical, and terrifyingly calm. Do you believe in timing, David? She asked. People talk about fate as if it's a grand plan, but it's not. It's just math. It's about being at a specific set of coordinates at a specific millisecond. You were exactly on time tonight. I've been calculating your arrival for quite a while. Calculating? You mean you saw me coming? In a way, she said. I knew someone like you would come. Someone who thinks his 3 seconds of kindness can fix a broken world. You're the 300th silver sedan I've seen this month, but you were the only one with the right timing. I looked for the Oak Haven exit. It was a mile away. I wanted her out. I didn't care about her husband or her radiator anymore. I just wanted my car back. The hospital is just around this bend, I said, my voice forced. Could we stop at the gas station first? She asked. It wasn't a question. It was an instruction. The one on the corner of Miller Road. I need to buy a card, a Get Well card. They have a specific rack there. It's sentimental. The hospital gift shop will have plenty of cards, I said, my grip tightening on the steering wheel. No, it has to be that station. Please, David. For a man who stopped to help a stranger, surely you can spare another 3 minutes. The manipulation was blatant, but I was already under her spell. I pulled into the gas station, a modern, neon-lit island in the middle of the dark pines. It was empty. The clerk inside was a teenage boy with headphones on, oblivious to the world. I put the car in park. I'll wait here. Just be quick. She didn't move. She didn't reach for the door handle. She just sat there, staring through the windshield at the gas pumps. The cards are inside, I said, my frustration finally bubbling over. I know, I'm just waiting for the right moment. She looked at her bare wrist as if she were checking a watch. Tell me, David, who will miss you tomorrow morning? Who is waiting for you to walk through the door? I'm not married, if that's what you're asking. My parents live in Florida. Why does that matter? It matters because of the debt, she whispered. My husband, he didn't have surgery. He had an accident, a very expensive accident involving people who don't take insurance. They take collateral. They told me that if I could provide a replacement, a clean life to take his place in the ledger, they would let him come home. I laughed, but it was a dry, panicked sound. Is this a joke? Some kind of performance art? Get out of my car, lady. I reached for my door handle. It wouldn't budge. I pulled harder. I checked the lock. It was down, but when I tried to lift it, it snapped back as if held by an invisible hand. Child safety locks, she said, pulling a small, black device from her coat. It looked like a modified key fob. I've had yours synced for weeks. I spent 6 days in your office parking lot, David, just waiting within range of your signal. It's remarkably easy with the right hardware. My heart began to hammer a frantic rhythm against my ribs. This wasn't a random encounter. My 3 seconds weren't a choice. They were the final piece of a trap that had been set long before I left Portland. Why me? I gasped. I'm just a salesman. I'm nobody. That's exactly why, she said. No wife, no kids, a predictable route, a silver sedan that looks like a million others. You are the perfect phantom, David. You are the man who disappears into the rain and leaves no ripples. She pointed to the gas station window. A man in a dark suit stepped out from the shadows near the car wash. He was holding a phone, looking directly at us. He began to walk toward the car, his footsteps silent on the wet pavement. You think you made a choice to stop, she said, her face inches from mine. But your choice was made years ago when you decided to be a good man. That was your first error. The second was stopping. The third was looking at me and seeing a victim. She reached into her coat. I tried to lunge for her, to grab her throat, but the seatbelt was a straitjacket. She was surprisingly strong, her movements precise and practiced. She pulled out a syringe. "Don't fight it, David. If you fight, it hurts. If you let go, it's just like falling asleep in your car after a long shift. 3 seconds of darkness and then nothing." I screamed for the boy in the gas station, but the windows were rolled up, the rain was drumming on the roof, and he never even looked up from his phone. The man in the suit reached the car. He pulled a key from his pocket, an identical silver key, and unlocked the driver's side door. The cold air rushed in. The man grabbed my hair, pulling my head back against the headrest. Prick. The needle went into my neck. I felt a cold, oily sensation spreading through my veins, a chemical tide that turned my limbs to lead. "You're a good man, David," the woman said, her voice becoming a distant echo. A good man who arrived at exactly the wrong time. As my vision began to fracture into shards of green and black, I watched her move. She climbed over the center console, pushing my limp body into the passenger seat as the man in the suit climbed into the back. She adjusted the rearview mirror. She checked her teeth in the glass. She looked like a woman who had just finished a long day of shopping. She put the car in gear. The silver sedan pulled out of the gas station, turning away from Oakhaven, away from my life, and into the endless dark of the forest. I woke up in a room with no windows. There are 4 others here. We don't talk. There is nothing to say. We all have the same story. A car on the shoulder, a rainy night, a moment of kindness. I spend my time counting. I count the seconds. 1, 2, 3. Somewhere out there, she is standing by a rusted station wagon. The steam is rising from the hood. She is waiting for the next silver sedan. She is waiting for you to check your clock, to tap your brakes, and to give her the 3 seconds she needs to replace the next person in the room. And the worst part? When you see her, you will stop. Because you're a good person, and in this world, that is the only mistake you can never take back.